Hi, Tom. Thanks for coming in to see me today. I'm looking forward to getting to know you. I know that you work here on campus, and I would love to hear more about what you do here on campus.
Hi, Don. Nice to see you too. I work for the Office of Undergraduate Research on campus. Our office supports undergraduates doing research with a faculty mentor, and I do all the administrative, HR, finance work, hiring, purchasing, that sort of thing for anything to do with our department.
Yeah, so you make sure undergraduate research partnerships happen,
Hmm.
and they can't do that without you.
Exactly.
Yeah. So outside of work, tell me about your life there.
I've been married for, I think, let's see, 27 years. No children. We have one dog, my wife and I, and we live just south of Flagstaff.
Oh, neat. So this dog is important to you.
Yeah.
Tell me
She's
about
a
her.
little mutt retriever, little brown and white. We've got two different colored eyes, so she likes to go with us on walks in the woods, and she's a big special part of our lives.
Oh, neat. That she sounds adorable.
She is. Yeah.
Yeah. So, when you think about your own sort of health and well-being in general, what matters to you in this part of your life in terms of your own health goals and your own well-being?
Um, I like to get outdoors. My wife and I both like hiking and walking, and we have a dog that needs a lot of exercise still. So I like to be able to get out and move around, and you know, like to have good longevity. So I have a sort of a mixed history in my family of short and long-lived folks. So I like to try to go for the longer end of that.
Yeah, so you're aware of your genetics.
Yeah.
And you like naturally to be outdoors doing active things.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. So in terms of our time together, I know we only have 10 minutes today, but what would make the most sense to kind of explore a little bit?
Well, a couple things I've thought about, kind of going along with that theme. I used to be a runner. I just kind of got out of that. So that's something I might be interested in doing. And then as I get older, I feel probably less flexible than I used to, with tight shoulders, tight hips, lower back pain, that sort of thing. And that's something I would like to address, before it gets terrible. And that's something I don't, I know running I'm familiar with. I know a lot about that. I just haven't done much of it. So the flexibility stuff, that's what I probably really could use help with most, because I don't know much about solutions for that.
Yeah, okay, so you picked sort of two areas, both involving physical activity, but one is running, something you've done in the past, something you're thinking about sort of incorporating again, and then the stretching piece to sort of ease those aches and pains.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so between those two, which one feels like a higher priority for you?
Probably what I would need the most help with would be the stretching, flexibility stuff, because I really don't know where to start with that.
Okay, so stretching is something you're interested in. What have you tried in the past when it comes to stretching, or what do you already know about stretching?
Well, I have a yoga mat with one of those little, like a massage ball, and sometimes when my shoulders get tight, I'll just kind of roll around on that. But it's pretty much, that makes it feel better. I don't really know if I'm benefiting a lot, like long term. It's just a lot of it's just kind of acute. Let's try to sort of rub that knot out with the little massage ball, or that's that type of thing.
Okay, so rolling out knots is something you've tried. Anything else that you've done to stretch before in the past?
I've read some articles about like lower back pain, and it's been so long I don't really remember. I mean, there's always some little directions on this is a great stretch for whatever's bothering you, but it's not something I've really stuck with or remember much about.
So you've done a little research, but nothing that's really sparked your
Right.
interest or gotten you really excited about it.
Yeah.
When you think about this change in particular, in terms of why it feels important to you, tell me more about that. You mentioned like not wanting those aches and pains, but why? What else are you hoping stretching will do for you?
I guess one thing on my mind is like my dad had a lot of probably similar like neck pain and back pain, and it was really debilitating for him. So I always assume that it won't be the same for me, but somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe if I catch, this early and keep after it, keeping my flexibility will allow me to go out hiking, walking the dog, that sort of thing, because I know it can be a real problem for some people. And I'm to the age now where I'm like, well, it's never really been troubling, but I realize that it could be. So that's and just being active is important to me and my wife, and so I want to keep be able to keep being active. So.
Yeah, so watching your dad go through that
Yeah.
was kind of a wake-up call for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And wanting to maintain that active lifestyle
Yeah.
into those older years.
Exactly.
Yeah. If you did sort of make this change and started stretching more, how do you think you would feel like throughout your day?
Well, probably a lot more energetic. I mean, there's times when I'll get up in the morning and I'm like, go to pick up the newspaper, pick up something. I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of gets the day off to a bad start. Or when it's bedtime and I lay down, it's like, oh, that shoulder really hurts, and it doesn't necessarily keep me awake, but it's kind of just annoying. So it just seems like it'd be a positive, probably help my outlook in general.
Yeah. So it's affecting you on a smaller scale level, but it's something that you're finding annoying and you want it to be resolved.
Right.
And you mentioned noticing some physical parts of that and maybe even some emotional benefits of that. Either of those that you'd like to expand on a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, just I feel like sometimes it's like, oh, it's actually hard to do something that should be really simple, and I'm like, oh well, I'm just sore, and then I realize, well, I don't have a good explanation of why I'm sore. So I feel like that's kind of a bit of a wake up call that like you're not really doing something that should cause this. You need to fix that. And then mentally, just sometimes I'll do something and my wife will be like, are you okay? And I'm like, oh wow, it's really showing that I'm I think I'm kind of like, oh, I'm fine, but it's actually obvious to other people that I'm I can't bend over easily, or I can't reach something easily, or something like that. So.
Yeah. So in addition to your active lifestyle and just being outside, you want to have function.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. As you get older.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it sounds like you got some great reasons for exploring this change. Wanting to stay bendy and in less pain, even though the pain's minor, just experience less pain and be able to continue to do things like shoveling snow and all of the things that you have to do in your daily life, and also to walk your dog and be with your wife outside and hike and all of that. So those are some important pieces of this puzzle, so I appreciate you sharing them.
Sure.
Yeah. So as far as making this change, what's one small step that makes sense to sort of get started with?
I don't know if it's a small step. I guess making a habit of stretching. Maybe I'm not sure exactly how to go about it, but I know there are resources out there to help me try new things. Try different stretches or try something that find something that works. I guess trying to make it a habit instead of a reaction. Really, I guess is kind of how I'm doing it now. It's like, oh, that hurts so much. I really need to do something. And so I know if I could do something every day. That would be probably beneficial. And I'm not real excited about taking a yoga class or something like that. It would most likely be something I'd like to do at home. So, if there's an online resource or something that would help remind me, take this time for yourself because it'll be a long-term benefit. That would probably be helpful to me.
Okay, so finding something short that you can do at home.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to give you some resources when we're done here.
Okay.
On some different sites that could guide you. What I'd love to talk to you more about is how that could fit into your day. When does it make sense to do it when you think about a typical daily rhythm or pattern? And also where in your house makes sense to do it, and how long do you want to spend when you're stretching that feels sustainable. So some things to think about. So first of all, when would you do it in a typical daily pattern?
When I've done it in the past, it's usually in the evening, probably because I'm, in the morning I'm usually somewhat rushed, like we all are. That I don't know if that would be a better time to do it, to start out the day stretching versus doing it at the end of the day. If I had to choose right now, end of the day is probably more logical and more feasible. and then where, I have open space in my living room or my kitchen that I sometimes use. Lay out my yoga mat in the kitchen on the kitchen floor. So it'd be somewhere, there'd be somewhere in my house that it would be easy to do.
Okay, so you have the space, and you already have a yoga mat.
I do, yeah.
Perfect. And you're thinking an unwinding sort of routine at the end of the day.
Probably would be good, yeah.
Great. And how long would you like to spend stretching?
The minimum time that would be effective is probably, it's not something I like, I really look forward to doing this. I feel like it's sort of I really need to do this. So if I could get benefit in like doing, say, 10 minutes regularly, maybe that would be a good starting point. If that's not realistic, half an hour maybe would be the maximum I feel like I would want to devote to it on an average evening.
Yeah, you know yourself well, Tom, and you know what will work best for you, and that 10-minute thing is what you're thinking might be what you would be able to commit to, and I think that is great. And doing that in the evening for 10 minutes sounds like a great plan. How many days a week do you think is a realistic goal? And I invite you to consider a goal that has a little wiggle room.
Okay.
In case something comes up, certain evenings. But
yeah, I mean, if I could do it maybe every other evening on average, so 3 or 4 days a week, that I feel like maybe I would have a hard time committing to every single day. And I don't know if there's benefit to doing it multiple days in a row versus alternating. But let's just say 4 days a week would be probably realistic.
Great. Yeah, I think you'll figure out as you start to do it what gives you the benefit and what works and what doesn't. But I think 10 minutes, 3 to 4 days a week is a wonderful place to start. And then you can kind of see for yourself what you're noticing and what works and what doesn't work. And you mentioned wanting this to be something you look forward to or enjoyable. Can you think of anything you could pair with this stretching that would make it more fun for you, or something you look forward to?
Oh, probably just listen to music or something like that, or make it sort of a less silent activity, I guess, would probably help.
Okay, so listening to music. Yeah. Well, great. I would love to check in with you. How are you feeling about this plan? We talked about 3 to 4 days a week, 10 minutes in the evening, listening to music, maybe adding some more joy to that.
Sure.
And that this is really important to you because you want to experience less aches and pains and be able to continue all the fun things that you do in your life.
Sure. Yeah, that seems like a reasonable plan with a lot of flexibility. So it doesn't sound like something that I would feel like bad about if I missed a day, for example, or if I could go a little bit longer probably if I was feeling good about it. So yeah, I think that's a great starting point for me, for sure.
Great. Well, thanks for talking it over with me.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for your help.
Yeah.